One of the things I ended up developing while growing up on the spectrum was the sense of inferiority. I could not make friends the same way as my other peers. My motor skills were, and still are, pretty fucking garbage. My misunderstanding of basic human expressions, along with being obsessed with certain things, that had only made me to be the weird kid who is always into something either odd or annoying. It also did not help that for a part of my childhood to preteen years was spent in and out of the hospital due to my brother's illness and eventual death. I wasn't able to go and play with the other kids. Most of my time I had spent was in the computer room in the hospital to pass the time. I still went to birthday parties and I was still able to make some friends, but it wasn't an everyday thing. That didn't really change until my brother had passed on and the kids at school would then talk to me more. I don't like how that had to be the cause case, and I think it kind of warps my understanding of social development. That being said, even with these friends, I would often feel lesser than and compare myself with how they were better at socializing, making other friends, and being cool. This, of course, would lead to me developing an inferiority complex, a complex that still affects me to this day. This has affected how I relate to other people and deal with my current and past friends, as I often do feel inadequate to others who I perceive are better than me. And this influence extends to even to something as meaningless such as what I like. So, for example, if someone says X sucks, I feel the need to no longer like X, and that liking it is a bad thing and I am not a good person. It has happened so many times where I have to ask friends, is it bad that I like it? And it gets tiring for them, as it does for me. It's a really sad way to live, and I am in therapy to help get over this feeling of inadequacy. Again, that being said, I still struggle with interacting with people that have different opinions from me. This sounds odd and pathetic, yeah, I know. And it is, given how it's not a healthy personality trait. But understanding that this was born from a trauma of being basically isolated and being bullied. It led to the point where I feel that I have to be like someone else or I'm just a nothing person. Of course, as I have gotten older and began to understand these defects, I have gone out of my way to heal, and this is where Strawberry Fields Forever comes into play. This track is a classical psychedelic power pop song penned by John Lennon and credited to the Lennon McCartney name. It is another example of how four blokes from the poorest region of the UK were pushing the boundaries of pop music. And while the Beatles were not the only ones pushing this boundary, it would be a severe error to say that they made no contribution to how we can make and produce sounds that we probably thought weren't possible in taking a great risk. That being said, and of course, take a drink every time I say that being said, I do genuinely love this song. It's one of my favorite off the Magical Mystery Tour EP, or album if you lived in America, and deserves the praise it was given and still receives to this day. So how does this relate to my story? Well, there's a specific line that I constantly go to whenever I think of this song. Always know, sometimes think it's me, but I know when it's a dream. I think a no, I mean a yes, but it's all wrong. That is, I think I disagree. This stanza is an example of stream of conscious done right. Don't get me wrong, John was no Sid Barrett, but he had the ability to do the same writing style. It's actually one of my preferred styles of writing, to be honest, because I see it as more whimsical, and I see how it reflects the imperfections of the human mind. And to be honest, again, I think that's why it sticks so much. The imperfection of the human mind reflects how we, as a species, are not perfect. There are always shortcomings that we have. I am good at writing, knowing obscure facts, and remembering certain events others have forgotten. Yet, I am pre-diabetic, I have ADHD, I'm autistic, and I suffer from depression. I also have bad motor skills, and I can't read people's emotions or tones well, and this of course leads to some issues. Some physical, some social, and of course, some mental. Yet, there are many ways to help modify this. The physical aspects, such as losing weight and practice working with my hands to help better my penmanship. However, when it comes to the mental aspect, it becomes a bit more difficult. But there is still medication for my ADHD and depression, and I often partake in this sticky icky, along with let's say, psychedelic candy. And to be clear, I'm not saying that you yourself should be doing this as well, especially if you have conditions that exacerbate said symptoms of it. So if you have that, please don't do that. This is just what I do to help with myself. And again, not saying that it's for everyone or you should take it, but it just helps me. There's nothing wrong with having these mental issues insofar that it doesn't make you less valuable as a person. Yet, in society, being neurodivergent and having to struggle with mental problems, it often makes one feel as if they are in the wrong, and that their defects make them feel as if they were a broken toy. Now, this can affect us in different ways. It always depends on how and where one grew up. Did they have support? Did they lack it? Were they given accommodations, or were they treated as if there was no fault at all? Then results will be different for each person. Since I am more comfortable talking about my experience rather than talking about another's or coming up with an example of a hypothetical person. Now, I was still fortunate to have a relatively good childhood despite the 3.5-year period of my brother going in and out of the hospital. It managed to rebound a bit, and things would get better during high school. That being said, whatever trauma I experienced never really went away. The peak of this trauma happened back in middle school around the time my brother had passed. I think what happened was during that key period, learning that I need to like certain things to fit in. And I also think it originated when my friend's stepfather asked how I could be black and not like rap music. I was around 10 to 11 when he asked me that. I think that's kind of where it began, and it just snowballed over the years to the point where I feel that if I don't like something, there's something wrong with me, or if I do like something, say 50s music, Burger King, or even liking to partake in the sticky icky, and others say, "Lol, that sucks," I just feel inferior because I am not fitting in, or I am being judged, along with the persistent fear of being out of place. It still continues to haunt me, but I will always take steps to fight back. Music has been a wonderful way in dealing with this. Before getting really into psychedelic music, I was into DSBM. For those of you who don't know what that is, don't worry about it. It's not worth looking up. Not to say that the genre sucks, even though most of the bands are crap, let's be honest, but it's dealing with mental agony in a way I think can further harm some people if they are unable to cope properly. But I used to listen to this one band called Psychonaut 4, and while I still enjoy their music, using them as a means to cope wasn't really working out for me. And in ways, it just made it a lot worse. So I eventually transitioned to psychedelia music starting around the winter of 2022 and by spring of 2023. And around that time, I was already hooked on these new, weird, and far out sounds. I began to see things differently because of the new music I was consuming. It wasn't just bleak. It exposed me to seeing things from different angles. And Strawberry Fields Forever helped me better understand that not everyone is going to agree with me, that not everyone is going to like what I like, and there are people that are going to dislike what I like, or even dislike the innocuous things that I do. And I just looked back to that specific line. I think, yes, but it's all wrong. That is, I think I disagree. Hearing John sing this softly brings me at ease, as it reminds me that it's not always a big deal, and the people that don't like what I like don't think less of me for enjoying it, or living my life. It's a reminder that there's no need to fear what others think. As long as you are happy and aren't hurting others or even damaging yourself in the long run, it doesn't matter. Take care of yourself, and do what makes you feel confident. Do what forces you to grow as a person. Do what makes you happy. There are a lot of judgy people out there, and there are instances where the judgment is just. But we have to learn to parse through the legitimate judgment from the more obtuse, I must control what others do type of judgment. At the risk of sounding like an idealistic hippie moron, life is too short for unnecessary worry. If it's something that doesn't really have a profoundly negative effect on you, and you feel as if you have said thing under control, don't sweat it. If you feel like you're not hurting others, or others are telling you, you're not hurting me, you're not bothering others, it's alright. Have confidence in yourself and do what it takes to better yourself, both emotionally and physically. Anyway, that is it for today's video. I kind of like doing this series as I feel like it helps me cope with my own emotional issues and sharing as to why I love this genre. I understand that it is odd, but I don't really care. I have fun doing these types of vids. I do want to do another album review before the end of March. Well, no. This is how you know I'm reading from a script. Yeah, so as you can tell, it's already near the end of March. So by next April, I'll have an album review of one of the King Gizzard albums. So hopefully I can get that out by April. If not, then fuck me. But anyway, anywho, if you like the video, like it. Dislike it if you dislike it. If you have any questions, comments, or critiques, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. This is Psychedelia 98 saying, tune in, drop out, and vibe on. Have a psychedelic day, everyone.